So I got him back in the car, and on the way back to the apartment, and I told him, I said, you're scaring me, you're scaring your sister. We just need to, let's go back to the doctors and get you back on medication. This is going to make you feel better.
Right.
And he was concerned that being on medication, he wouldn't be able to catch the signals that he was getting, like from the animals and those kinds of things. He wasn't going to be able to talk to them anymore.
Oh, wow.
And I said, well, let's not worry about that. Let's just get you some sleep tonight and everything. And as we were getting ready to go over the bridge, he opened the car door and jumped out.
Wow.
And it was dark. And I saw that where he went down to the river, and drove around and tried to get my bearings, and I was so freaked out. And I will kick myself for the rest of my life for this. I should have gotten out of the car and just went after him. But I didn't. I went back to the apartment and called the police.
Okay, right.
And that is the last time that I saw my son.
Last time you saw him. Okay, so he jumped out of the car right before the bridge.
Yep.
Was he like running basically?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, running down, and he kind of went
Just down around.
just down to the river down there. But is this where he hung out? Like,
No, this was just where he left.
okay.
The river winds down around this way, and he hung out on the dike.
Down over there.
Down that
okay.
direction.
Okay. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another episode. Today I'm focusing on a very unusual missing persons case. A young man named Bobby Sine. Bobby was 18 years old when he went missing on February 6th, 2012, here in Mount Vernon, Washington. On February 6th, Bobby's mother took Bobby to the Skagit Valley Hospital here in Mount Vernon because he was having a psychotic break. Bobby apparently had some form of mental illness, and so his mom took him to the hospital right over here in order to get him checked out and to figure out what was going on. Before anyone could check him out in the hospital, Bobby refused any medical treatment, and so his mom was taking him back home. But on the way home, he freaked out and he jumped out of the car only about 5 minutes away on a bridge. There have been some reports about 6 months to a year after he went missing. Some people claimed that they saw him in town and they asked him, "Are you Bobby Sine?" And he replied, "I used to in a former life, but I'm not him anymore."
I'm Ruth Sine. I'm Bobby's mom.
As a child, like, what was he like? Was he more outgoing or more kind of reclusive, or?
Bobby was super outgoing and was just the silliest, funniest kid. Everybody who knew him knew that he was so funny. He could make me laugh harder than anybody ever. He was completely annoying to his sisters, one older, one younger.
Okay. Fair enough. Yeah.
Typical kid. He was a very kind soul and always has been a really super kind kid.
Like the mental illness part, when did that, if you don't mind, when did that start to kind of play a part in?
It was actually 17 years old.
Okay.
It was the year before he went missing. Not going into too much detail.
Sure. No, yeah.
We had a really rough couple of years, and there were things going on in our family that weren't the greatest ever.
Okay,
Haven't always been the most perfect parent. We had our downfalls, And in 2011, he got into some trouble with drugs.
Okay.
And was making his way back up from that. And we had just moved from my sister's. We were living with my sister in her basement, and it was a rough time. But we made it, and we made it into a little apartment on Dunbar Road in Mount Vernon. Okay. And everybody was back together, and it was going well. It was going well. Okay. We were living there with my youngest daughter and Bobby. Okay. And Bobby had some problems with dealing with the issues that we had at the time. Our relationship wasn't the greatest. We'll put it that way.
Sure.
It was difficult. It was difficult at best.
Okay.
And he hadn't finished high school and was kind of adrift on his own and had gotten himself into some problems with some drugs. Okay. When he got out of that, because he wasn't doing the drugs anymore, we noticed that his whole personality just kind of changed a little bit.
Oh, really? After he stopped?
Yeah.
Okay.
It really changed quite a bit. He was argumentative. He started to be a little bit reclusive. Okay. I didn't have my eye on everything that he was doing, but I would hear from people that, he had contacted them online and was talking. I guess I can't remember who was running for politician at the moment, but it was somebody who was, kind of out there, and the ideas were out there. So he had conspiracy theories. He was going towards the political thing, and then kind of made that a thing online with people that he would talk to. And I thought that there was really nothing wrong, that we were just going through a period of whatever.
Yeah, sure, right.
And that he would get his life together and
it would be
fine. And it didn't work out that way at all. It got worse. Okay. He became a little bit more reclusive. And secretive, and really very kind of paranoid about everything around him. He didn't talk to his friends. He had a best friend that he had all of his life, lived out in Cedar Woolley, and he kind of had a falling out with him, or just hadn't seen him for a very long time. Okay. I asked him to come over and sit with Bobby because I was worried, and I thought maybe he just needed more friends. Right. And at the end of that visit, the young man just told me, there's something not right here. And he was crying about it, and it was a thing. Yeah. And I was mad because I thought, well, you're just not giving him a chance.
Oh, right. You're like, yeah, you're just not giving him.
Right. So after that visit, things kind of went really downhill, and he called Child Protective Services on us.
On you?
Yes, on me and his father, and saying that we were doing drugs, and we were terrible people, and we were abusive, and all of this stuff. Well, that was all washed over. We had somebody come out and talk to us, and she had said that, well, obviously there's something wrong.
Right.
During that period of time, he had left, and he was I don't know where he was just out. Okay. So after a couple days, and I was very angry with him that he did that. After a couple days, he had come back, and it was the day that he came back that like a light bulb went on for me. Okay. I was watching him pace back and forth, and he was telling me about his time when he was not with us, and that people were following him, and that he was pretty sure he was going to be shot. Somebody had a gun. Ooh. And when I was hearing him talk about this stuff, it was like, oh, everybody's been telling me that there's something wrong. This is it. This is something wrong.
Like, yes, right.
Right? So I finally looked at him and said, look, I think we need to go to the hospital. I think you really do need some help, and you're really scared, and we need to go. Right. And that was our first trip to the ER. Okay. And that was in, I think that was July of 2011, 10 months before he went missing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because it was June. Yeah.
He was really, really scared, and the people that talked to him, evaluated and everything, suggested that we have him taken down to Children's Hospital in the psychiatric ward down there because they could help him. So in the meantime, while we were waiting for transport and everything, they put him in a little teeny tiny room with nothing in the room except for a cot on the floor.
Oh gosh.
And I kept thinking to myself, as I'm sitting here watching him, I'm like, this is not helping anything. How is this helping anything? It's not.
No, that can make it worse sometimes.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. So he, eventually we got into the ambulance and took him down to Children's. And I'll tell you that I would much rather have had Children's Hospital tell me that my son had leukemia, because we could do something about that.
There's actual there's a plan. You can get stuff going for treatment. But
there is nothing that you can do. There's really nothing. He stayed in Children's for I want to say maybe a week or two. It's been so long.
Okay.
And they got him on some kind of medication, and then it was hard being there to see him. That was not the place you want your kid to be at Children's. No.
I can't imagine that. Yeah.
It was pretty awful. So we got him home. We got him on some medication. He at some point decided that he needed to go back, so we took him back. He stayed a little bit longer, but wasn't actually getting any better.
Oh, it wasn't really happening.
No, we would go down and I'd see him, and I would feel like, okay, he's doing better, and then he would turn around and look out the windows and go, I'm not going to lie to you, I still think somebody's going to snipe me from here. And it was like, oh gosh, here we go. So it was really, really hard to deal with some of his delusions that he was having. But then we got him back home, and it seemed like some of the medication was starting to work a little bit. With mental illness, it's like you've got to find the right cocktail to make it right, you know?
I've heard that before.
So it took a long time. It was going to take a long time, but Bobby didn't like the side effects that they were giving him, because it made him feel like, he was dull and...
Oh, kind of just dulled his senses.
Yeah, it was hard on him. It was very hard on him. So when he turned 18 in November, he decided that he didn't want to take the pills anymore. And there was nothing that we could do.
Because he's legally an
adult. Right. So he stopped taking the medication.
Okay.
And there was a period of time when he wouldn't leave the house at all when he had the medication and stuff. He didn't want to go anywhere. He didn't want to do anything.
Okay.
And then all of a sudden, we come home from grocery shopping one day and Bobby's not there. And I'm like, okay. Where's Bobby?
Yeah, no, definitely.
He came in not too long after we had gotten home with a great big smile on his face, and I was like, where have you been, buddy? What's going on? He just decided that he was going to get out there into the world, and what he was doing was going knocking on houses, knocking on doors, and sharing his philosophy on life. He got the police called on him a couple times.
This weird guy is coming to the doors and
Well, because he wasn't actually taking good care of himself, and he would wear a hoodie.
Did he kind of just appear to...
a little scruffy, right? So these people in these nice houses in these nice neighborhoods are like, he's casing my joint,
Sure, which is understandable.
So the police became very familiar with him and would tell him things like, hey man, it's great that you want to go and do this stuff, but maybe don't wear a black hoodie and look all scruffy when you do it.
Right. Fair enough. Yeah.
Maybe that might be a thing. He had promised that he wasn't going to do any marijuana for a very long time, and hadn't done it for a very long time.
Okay.
And then found a piece of marijuana in his pocket, a jean pocket, and just kind of thought, well, whatever, we'll do this.
Let's try it out. Yeah.
Feeling good, everything's fine. And that was the kick. That was the downfall. And I think that happened in January, like in mid-January.
Okay. So that kind of transpired quickly.
Yeah, it really hit his psyche. It just flew him into a psychosis.
Oh.
And it got pretty awful for him. Anybody who watches their kid go through stuff like that, I mean, I wouldn't wish that on any parent. It's so hard.
No,
there was a period of time when when it really started to get bad and up to the point that he went missing, he didn't want to sleep because Satan was in his dreams, and he didn't want him to enjoy anything that he was dreaming about. So he would try to keep himself awake. He had a TV in his bedroom that didn't have cable, It was for gaming and stuff.
Okay.
But he would turn it on to where it was just white snow.
Oh, okay.
And he would lay in his bed and watch that because it helped him to not think about anything.
Just kind of zone out and yeah.
And at some point he decided that looking at things in 3D was also bad.
Oh.
So he fashioned himself an eye patch.
Oh, really?
So walking into my son's bedroom and seeing all of that was really, it was hard because I couldn't get him help because he didn't want to get help because he was 18 and I couldn't force it on him. And he wasn't hurting anybody. And that was a big thing. You know, if he's hurting himself or hurting somebody else, you can get him help.
That'd be different, yeah.
Yeah. But this, there's nothing you can do.
So you were like stuck in like no man's land, like
every day. And having to go to work. So he began to leave the house. When I would go to work, he would leave the house. He would take blankets with him and a bottle, like a mason jar full of water.
Oh.
And we lived pretty close to the dike, so he would walk up to the dike and I guess hang out there all day long.
That's interesting. Okay.
So the day that he went missing, he came down. I got home from work and he came down from the dike and was pacing around the house, and I was concerned about him and thought, okay, this is the moment that we're going to be able to convince him to go and get help.
Let's go to the hospital.
Right.
Yeah.
He hadn't eaten. I think he hadn't eaten for 5 days. Nothing really, just water. He hadn't slept for 4 days.
Oh wow. Okay.
So he's pacing around the house, and I'm like, okay, are you ready now? We need to go up to the ER and get you some help.
Right.
And he agreed. And so I went to go and get my things. I came back out to the living room, and he was sitting there with a kitchen knife next to him. And I thought, okay, what's this about, buddy? What's going on?
Right.
And he was really, really scared that that somebody was going to hurt him.
Oh man.
You know. So then he said, I think my dad's going to hurt me. And we were like, no, honey, we're not going to, nothing is going to happen here. We're just going to get in the car. Now see, okay, so it's at that point when my husband would have said and has said, you should call the police. You should get somebody involved. Don't get in the car with the kid with the knife, right?
Oh, yeah.
But we've all seen how things like that.
It can escalate to something way worse than you even want.
Our apartment on Dunbar
Okay.
and the ER, he had convinced himself that this was exactly what the devil wanted him to do, was to get back into the hospital.
Oh.
So once he had that in his head, there was no way that we were going to... He went into the ER with me.
So you got him into the building?
Yes.
Okay.
He agreed to put the knife in the trunk, which was great.
Okay,
We
good.
got into the ER,
Okay.
and everyone, all the patients, the nurses, the staff, everyone knew that there was obviously an issue.
Like something's wrong.
Right.
Yeah.
And I had told them, there is a knife in the car, and we have this issue, and this is what's going on.
Right.
But because he was 18, they asked him to sign a piece of paper that says that they could treat him.
And
he said, no, I'm okay. And they said, you sure you're okay? And he says, yeah, I'm okay.
Oh no.
And I was like, are you kidding me right now?
Oh my god. So you got him all the way there, and then he just...
Yeah, they could have held him for an evaluation.
Oh, really?
They could have. They didn't. They just didn't. He got out of a moving car, which was a little concerning, but obviously was okay because he was running down to the river. But that night was hard, and we thought, I thought, well, he's going to come back. He'll come back. And he just didn't.
He just never.
And the police, went on the river with the boat to look for him.
Okay.
They didn't find anything. We had heard from somebody, I think a couple days into his missing, that they saw him on a bench in downtown Mount Vernon, looking a little bit lost. So we were like, okay, he's still around. Let's find him. And we never found him.
Okay.
As elusive as all get out. It was really hard to get the word out to have people immediately contact us when they see him. That was the hardest part.
Oh, like they would wait. Or,
yeah.
And you're like, I need to know now.
By the time you tell me, he's gone and probably in the next town. So it was hard. One of his good friends, I think it was months after he went missing, said that they saw him at the food co-op and spoke with him and said, "Hey, Bobby," and he said that he may have been Bobby in another life, but he'd been reborn and then walked away. So we were like, well, that's great. We didn't find out about that until about a week or so after it happened. And that is what happened just the other day in Mount Vernon.
Oh, like recent?
Like recently.
Oh.
Okay. So somebody that he grew up with.
Okay.
She was coming out of Cruise and Coffee on LaVenture.
Oh, Cruise and Coffee. Okay.
Was going to be late to her work, so she turned down and was headed towards Hogue and passed a guy, and she said, "Oh, hey, look, it's Bobby," and they kept driving and went, "Wait a minute, he's been missing for 7 years."
It's Bobby.
Right.
Oh, gosh.
So, and she'll back that up and she'll say, well, I don't want to say that it really was him because you've had this happen before. And the big difference there is that she registered it as, hey, that's Bobby.
Right.
Because she grew up with him and she has that recognition. Okay, so when she said that she saw him, he was dressed pretty much all in black, and that kind of stood out to her because, most people will have like
some sort of colors or
some kind of color, but it was all black.
Okay.
He wasn't wearing a hat. His hair was about shoulder length.
Okay, so somewhat longer hair. Okay.
And he had a little beard going on. A medium beard is what she said. She said that he didn't look particularly homeless, that he looked like he was not, dirty or anything like that.
Somewhat put together, yeah.
Right.
Okay.
That he had a black jacket on that had zippers on it, and a black backpack that had zippers on it.
Okay.
Right? So that's where we're at right now. We're like, okay, so this was November 19th, been seen in town. So hopefully we're coming to a point where if we can get the word out a little bit more. He left home in a really bad mental state. There is no telling what his state is right now. I mean, he could be fine. He could have just convinced himself that his family doesn't want him, or that he is no longer a part of the family, or whatever.
Yeah.
And all we want is for a phone call. I want to hear his voice so bad. I want to hear his voice. I want to hug him. I want to see his little face and make sure that he's okay.
He's like hugging to death. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And he left his wallet up on the dike where he used to hang out. It may have just fallen out of his pocket or whatever, but it has his ID in it, and it had $28 in it when it was found. So
wow.
It seems like it was not something that he intentionally left.
Right.
But we have his ID.
But you have his ID, you have his wallet.
That works.
Can you even get a second ID if you lost it?
If he were to try, that may be something that would have tagged in the system because he's listed as a missing person in Washington State.
So that might have, alerted, like, hey, he's missing. Mm.
Yes. So even if he were to try and go and get food stamps or anything like that, that also should have tagged that this is a missing person.
Right. So for anyone watching at home, would they be able to contact you and your number? Or
Absolutely. My number is the number on the Facebook page.
Okay.
It's the tip line. It's 360-840-3472.
Okay. First.
That's always great too. If you can snap a pic, that's absolutely the best way.
Yeah, at the very least, like try to get a picture, video, anything. That would be awesome, just to kind of help out. So is there any last thoughts or any last things that you think maybe the audience or anyone should know? Or
it's so easy. And this is the time of the year where we are all super busy. We are just running around doing our thing, and we're going to be late to this appointment, or we're going to be late to that appointment, or whatever,
Sure. Yeah.
And we're all in our own world, but I just encourage everybody to look up, look around.
While you're walking down the street,
Yep.
maybe like take a look at who's walking past.
Right.
Yeah.
We're all doing this, but look up every now and again, and don't immediately assume that the person on the corner is just some bum looking for a couple bucks for their drug habit or something like that. They are someone.
Right, and they could be missing. You never know.
Yes, exactly.
And now they've added a second or third camera, maybe. Three cameras.
I'm pretty sure that there was only one during the time, but
Time.
I'm, looking at that, the third camera that they've placed looking that direction. I wonder if maybe they had one facing that direction, and he just didn't show me that footage.
Oh, maybe.
So if if you do a little research there, maybe that's a question to ask.
Yeah. Hey, is there a second camera footage we should look at? Yeah. I really do hope and pray that Bobby is actually okay and he's alive somewhere. Keep Bobby's mom in your thoughts and prayers as well, and give her some lots of love and support in the comments, as it's not easy coming on camera and talking about your missing child. Hopefully this video will get out there and get some more clues to where he is. Thank you so much for watching. Stay tuned.